The world of hip-hop has witnessed many shocking moments, but few tragedies shook the culture the way the death of Nipsey Hussle did. When the news first broke on March 31, 2019, millions of fans across the world could not believe it. Social media exploded with confusion, grief, and anger. How could someone who was doing so much for his community be taken away so suddenly? People everywhere began asking the same question: what really happened in the Nipsey Hussle murder case? Before we uncover the full story, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dive stories like this. We break down the truth behind major events in music, culture, and society. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the end of this story because some of the details behind this case are both shocking and heartbreaking. To truly understand why this tragedy hit so hard, we first have to understand who Nipsey Hussle really was. Nipsey Hussle was born Ermias Joseph Askadam on August 15, 1985, in Los Angeles. His father was an immigrant from Eritrea in East Africa, while his mother was American. Growing up in South Los Angeles was extremely challenging. The area was known for gang violence, poverty, and limited opportunities for young people trying to escape the cycle of street life. Like many teenagers growing up in that environment, Nipsey was exposed to gang culture at a very early age. During his youth, he became associated with the Rollin' 60s neighborhood Crips, one of the well-known gangs in Los Angeles. But even while surrounded by the harsh realities of the streets, Nipsey always had bigger ambitions. Music became his escape. Instead of allowing his environment to completely define his future, he began focusing on building a career through rap. His early mixtapes started gaining attention in the underground hip-hop scene. But what made Nipsey different from many other artists was not just his music, it was his mindset. He believed strongly in independence. At a time when many artists were desperate to sign major record deals, Nipsey chose a different path. He focused on owning his work, controlling his brand, and building his career step by step. This philosophy became the foundation of his movement known as the Marathon. The phrase "the marathon continues" wasn't just a slogan. It represented patience, discipline, and long-term success. Over the years, Nipsey released multiple mixtapes that slowly built a loyal fan base. People respected him because his music felt authentic. He rapped about real experiences, struggles, and lessons from the streets, but he also talked about growth, business, and community empowerment. Then came a huge milestone in his career. In 2018, Nipsey released his debut studio album titled Victory Lap. The album was widely praised by critics and fans. It even earned him a Grammy nomination, pushing him into a new level of success and recognition. But despite his rising fame, Nipsey never forgot where he came from. Instead of leaving his neighborhood behind, he chose to reinvest in it. One of his most important projects was the opening of his clothing store, the Marathon Clothing, located in the same South Los Angeles community where he grew up. The store quickly became more than just a place to buy clothes. It became a symbol of ownership, pride, and economic empowerment. Even more impressive, Nipsey eventually purchased the entire strip mall where the store was located. His vision was to redevelop the area, create jobs, and bring positive change to the community. He also invested in tech programs designed to help young people learn skills in science and technology. He believed education and entrepreneurship were key to breaking the cycle of poverty. For many people in Los Angeles, Nipsey Hussle was not just a rapper. He was a leader. He was a mentor. He was someone who proved that success could be used to uplift others instead of simply chasing fame and money. This is why his death hit so many people so deeply. It felt like the loss of someone who was trying to build something bigger than himself. On the afternoon of March 31, 2019, Nipsey was doing something he had done countless times before, spending time at his clothing store, greeting fans, and connecting with people from the neighborhood. It seemed like a normal Sunday. But within the next hour, something would happen that would change the hip-hop world forever. A man would approach Nipsey in the parking lot outside the store. A brief conversation would take place. And moments later, one of the most shocking tragedies in modern hip-hop history would unfold. But what exactly happened during that conversation? And how did it lead to the fatal shooting that shocked the world? That's where the story takes a dark and unexpected turn. In the next part, we're going to break down the exact events that happened that afternoon, the moment the suspect arrived, the conversation that took place, and the chilling sequence of events captured on surveillance cameras. Trust me, the details are more disturbing than many people realize. If you're ready for the next part of the story, just say Section 2. The afternoon of March 31st, 2019, started like an ordinary day outside the Marathon clothing store in South Los Angeles. Nipsey Hussle was doing what he often did, spending time around the neighborhood, talking with friends, greeting fans, and handling business at the store he proudly built in the same community where he grew up. People who knew Nipsey understood that he loved being present in his neighborhood. He didn't hide behind security or isolate himself from the people who supported him. Instead, he stayed connected to the streets that shaped him. On that Sunday afternoon, a few friends and associates were standing with him outside the store in the parking lot. Cars moved through the strip mall, customers came and went, and the environment seemed calm. Then, a man approached. That man was Eric R. Holder Jr. Holder was not a stranger to Nipsey. In fact, the two men were familiar with each other from the neighborhood. Both had grown up in the same area and had connections within the same street circles in South Los Angeles. Because of this shared background, the conversation between them initially did not appear threatening. Witnesses later explained that the two men spoke briefly. According to testimony presented later in court, Nipsey allegedly told Holder that he had heard rumors that Holder might be cooperating with law enforcement in certain cases. In street culture, accusations of cooperating with police, often called snitching, can carry serious consequences. The accusation can damage reputations and even put someone in danger. However, the conversation between Nipsey and Holder did not turn violent at that moment. Instead, Holder left the area. For a short period, everything appeared to return to normal. People continued standing around the store. Some individuals were still talking with Nipsey, while others were nearby going about their day. But what nobody knew was that something dangerous was about to happen. After leaving the strip mall, Holder got into a car with a woman who had driven him there earlier. Instead of leaving the area completely, he asked her to drive around the block. Prosecutors later explained that approximately 9 minutes passed between the initial conversation and what would happen next. 9 minutes. That small window of time would later become one of the most important pieces of evidence in the trial. Prosecutors argued that those minutes gave Holder enough time to calm down and walk away. But that is not what happened. Instead, he returned. And this time, he came back armed. Security cameras captured the moment when Holder walked back toward the strip mall. As he approached the parking lot again, Nipsey was still standing outside with a few other men near the Marathon clothing store. The attack happened quickly. According to surveillance footage and witness testimony, Holder pulled out a gun and opened fire without warning. Gunshots rang out through the parking lot. People nearby immediately began running for cover as the shots echoed across the area. Nipsey Hussle was struck multiple times. The bullets hit his body, including shots to the torso and head. The attack was extremely violent and happened within seconds. Two other men standing nearby were also hit by gunfire during the chaos. But what happened next made the attack even more disturbing. Witnesses later testified that after shooting Nipsey several times, Holder reportedly walked up to him and kicked him in the head before fleeing the scene. The entire incident lasted only moments, but its impact would be felt around the world. After the shooting, Holder ran away and got back into the waiting vehicle. The driver reportedly did not know what had just happened until after he returned to the car. Meanwhile, people at the scene rushed to help Nipsey. Emergency services were called immediately. Paramedics arrived quickly and transported him to a nearby hospital in Los Angeles. Doctors tried everything they could to save him. But the injuries were too severe. Later that afternoon, doctors officially pronounced Nipsey Hussle dead at the age of 33. As news of the tragedy spread, shockwaves moved across the music industry and beyond. Fans around the world struggled to believe what they were hearing. Outside the Marathon clothing store, people began gathering within hours. Candles, flowers, and handwritten messages filled the sidewalk as supporters tried to process the devastating loss. Murals of Nipsey's face soon began appearing across Los Angeles and other cities across the country. But while fans were mourning, law enforcement was already beginning the search for the man responsible. Surveillance footage from the strip mall cameras had captured the suspect clearly. Investigators quickly identified Eric Holder as the primary suspect in the case. Within days, a manhunt began. Police released Holder's photo to the public, and the search intensified as officers attempted to track him down. The entire country was now watching closely, waiting for justice. But the investigation that followed, and the courtroom battle that would later unfold, would reveal even more shocking details about the case. The arrest, the trial, the arguments inside the courtroom, and the final sentence would become one of the most talked about moments in modern hip-hop history. And when the verdict was finally announced, it brought both relief and new emotions for fans, family members, and the entire community. But how exactly did investigators catch the suspect? What evidence did prosecutors present in court? And what sentence did the killer ultimately receive? The answers to those questions would come in the final chapter of this story. After the tragic shooting that took the life of Nipsey Hussle, the focus quickly shifted from shock and mourning to finding the person responsible. The entire city of Los Angeles was on edge, and the music world was watching closely. Fans demanded justice, and investigators began working quickly to piece together exactly what had happened in the parking lot outside the Marathon clothing store. Fortunately for detectives, the area where the shooting occurred had several surveillance cameras. The footage captured clear images of the suspect both before and after the attack. Investigators were able to review the video and identify the man who had approached Nipsey that afternoon. The suspect was identified as Eric R. Holder Jr. Police quickly released his photo to the public and began searching for him. News outlets shared the image across television and social media, and the manhunt gained national attention. People across the country were following the story, hoping that the suspect would be captured quickly. Just 2 days after the shooting, the search came to an end. Holder was located and arrested by police in the city of Los Angeles. Authorities charged him with several serious crimes, including first-degree murder, attempted murder, and multiple firearm-related offenses connected to the shooting that injured 2 other men at the scene. For many fans and members of the community, the arrest was an important first step toward justice. But the legal process would not move quickly. The case would take years before reaching trial. Several factors contributed to the delay, including court procedures and the global COVID-19 pandemic, which slowed down many legal cases across the United States. As a result, the trial did not officially begin until June 2022, more than 3 years after Nipsey's death. When the trial finally began, it immediately drew widespread media attention. The courtroom was filled with reporters, supporters, and members of Nipsey Hussle's family who wanted to see justice served. During the trial, prosecutors presented detailed evidence to explain exactly how the killing happened. Surveillance footage played a key role. The video showed the suspect leaving the scene after the initial conversation with Nipsey and then returning minutes later armed with weapons. Prosecutors argued that this time gap proved the killing was planned. According to their argument, the 9 minutes between the conversation and the shooting gave the suspect time to think about his actions. Instead of leaving the situation behind, he chose to return with guns and carry out the attack. Witness testimony also played a powerful role in the case. Several individuals who were present at the scene described the events they saw that afternoon. Their accounts matched the evidence shown in the surveillance footage. The prosecution's goal was clear: to prove that the killing was deliberate and should be classified as first-degree murder. But the defense presented a different argument. Holder's attorney did not deny that his client fired the shots. Instead, the defense attempted to convince the jury that the killing was not premeditated. They argued that the suspect acted in what is legally called the heat of passion. According to the defense, the earlier conversation between Nipsey and Holder involved accusations that Holder had been cooperating with law enforcement. In gang culture, that kind of accusation can be extremely serious and emotionally triggering. The defense argued that this accusation caused Holder to act impulsively rather than carrying out a planned murder. For several days, the jury listened to both sides carefully. They reviewed evidence, watched video footage, and heard testimony describing the events of that afternoon. Finally, in July 2022, the jury reached its verdict. Eric Holder was found guilty of first-degree murder for the killing of Nipsey Hussle. He was also convicted of 2 counts of attempted voluntary manslaughter and 2 counts of assault with a firearm related to the 2 other men who were injured during the shooting. The verdict brought a sense of relief to many people who had been waiting years for justice. However, the final chapter of the case still remained: sentencing. Several months later, in February 2023, the court announced the final punishment. The judge sentenced Eric Holder to 60 years to life in prison. The sentence included 25 years to life for the murder conviction, an additional 25 years because a firearm was used during the crime, and 10 more years connected to the assault charges. For many supporters of Nipsey Hussle, the sentence brought a measure of closure. But it could never replace the life that was lost. The pain of that tragedy was deeply felt by Nipsey's family, friends, and fans around the world. One of the most emotional moments following his death was the memorial service held at the Staples Center. Thousands of people attended the event to celebrate his life and legacy. His partner, actress Lauren London, delivered a powerful tribute that moved millions of people watching around the world. Her words captured the deep love and respect many people felt for Nipsey. Even former United States President Barack Obama honored Nipsey's work and his efforts to uplift the community through education, business, and mentorship. In the years since his passing, Nipsey Hussle's legacy has continued to grow. Streets in Los Angeles have been renamed in his honor. Murals celebrating his life appear across cities in the United States and beyond. Organizations connected to his vision continue to promote entrepreneurship, education, and community development. Many people believe Nipsey's message was bigger than music. He believed in ownership. He believed in knowledge. And most importantly, he believed that people from struggling communities could build a better future through discipline and determination. His famous phrase, "The marathon continues," has now become a global symbol of perseverance and resilience. Although the tragedy of his death remains painful, the inspiration he left behind continues to influence millions of people. And perhaps that is the most powerful part of his story. His life proved that success is not only about fame or wealth, it is about what you build, what you give back, and the impact you leave behind. If you stayed with this story all the way to the end, thank you for watching and being part of this conversation. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep story like this one. And now I want to hear from you. Do you believe justice was served in the Nipsey Hussle case? Or do you think there are still lessons we need to learn from what happened that day? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's talk about it. Because stories like this remind us that behind every headline is a life, a legacy, and a story that continues long after the news fades away.